Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation I have received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me your questions on fitcosgrove_. All right, so let's get started with question number 1 from this week's No Filter Q&A. Hi, Nick. I've been trying to make my glutes bigger, but can't seem to add size onto them. Do you have recommendations on how I can target this area better? Glutes are a difficult exercise to really stimulate and contract because most people are so quad dominant. So I see this all the time when people are doing, whether they're doing pelvic hip thrusts or glute kickbacks, they're using a lot of their quads and some hamstring activation as well. And they're not really isolating the gluteus maximus and minimus. The reason for that, as I mentioned, is because we are so quad dominant. It's much easier to contract the muscles we can see, which are the quadriceps, because they're right in front of us, as opposed to the muscles we can't see, which would be the hamstrings and the glutes. So one of the things I do with a lot of my female clients when I'm doing a glute primary workout is I'll get them to superset and do trisets and even giant sets. And I'll pre-exhaust muscles like the quadriceps and the hamstrings so I can isolate the glutes. So an example would be I would have a client do, let's say, a barbell back squat, and I would have them superset that with a dynamic walking lunge, and then would have them finish that off with a pelvic hip thrust with the barbell. That's just an example. Because by the time they get to that barbell hip thrust, they've already done, say, 15, 20 reps of barbell back squats, 24, 30 reps of walking lunges, and then they go immediately to that barbell hip thrust. And that right there, by the time they get there, their hamstrings and their glutes are so exhausted, they have to isolate, or their hamstrings and quads are so exhausted, they have to isolate their glutes. Another good way to do that would be to say superset straight leg deadlifts, straight leg barbell deadlifts, and then throw in some straight leg dumbbell deadlifts, and then go immediately into some glute kickbacks. Okay, and that way you pre-exhaust your hamstrings and you isolate your glutes. So I find that's a really good way if you're having a hard time getting that mind to muscle connection with your glutes. Try using some pre-exhaust techniques. And also another thing I find works really well too when you're trying to target the glutes, static contractions. So, for example, if you're doing a pelvic hip thrust with a barbell, a lot of times I'll have my clients, they'll do a 5-count hold on the up phase, and then they'll hold a 5-count hold on the down phase. So 5-second up on the concentric phase, 5-second down on the eccentric phase. So, there's all kinds of things that you can kind of throw into those strategies and, mix up your sequences. But I find if you pre-exhaust the quads, pre-exhaust the hamstrings, there's nothing left to do but isolate your glutes. So try that and see if it works. All right, next question. Hey, Nick, any tips you can give me to help increase the weights I'm lifting? I've been plateauing on the same exercises for the past 6 months. So if you're plateauing on exercises for a long period of time, I don't necessarily recommend taking those exercises out and trying all new exercises. What I'll usually do with most of my clients is I'll change up the sequences. I'll do that with my own workouts. For example, if I'm stuck, bench or squatting 315, for example, on my barbell back squats, and I can't increase that weight. And if I usually start my leg workouts with barbell back squats, what I might do is I might throw in some walking lunges, some hack squats, some leg press, and then do my barbell back squats towards the end of my leg workout. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to squat 315 if I'm squatting at the end of my leg workout. However, what that's going to do is going to force my quads to respond after they're already exhausted from doing 3 or 4 exercises beforehand. So by the time I put them back into the beginning of my workout again, it's going to be like nothing. And most likely that 315 will turn into 325, 335. But you have to do that for a period of time. You can't just do it for one workout. You have to do it you said you plateaued for 6 months. I would do that for 6 months. I would change up your routine, change up the order of your exercises. Make sure your sequences still make sense, but change up the order of your exercises. Remember, our bodies are very smart, so they adapt very quickly. So if you're always doing the same workout in the same order, yeah, you're going to plateau. So mix it up, and you're going to notice, like I said, like if I squat at the beginning of my workout and I squat 315 and I squat at the end of my workout, I'm not going to squat 315. I'll probably be lucky if I'm able to squat 225 because my legs are already tired. But if I do that for 3-6 months and then I throw those barbell back squats in at the beginning, it's going to be, wow, my legs, this is no problem. I can easily do this because my legs aren't tired yet. And as I said, that 315 go up 325, 335 quite easily. I do that for a lot of muscle groups, like whether it's biceps, triceps, chest, back. And I'll do that for a lot of my clients. I'll mix up the sequence. And at first it's frustrating because you're not lifting as much weight as you normally would on certain exercises, but you'll see the benefits of it in months to come when you put them back, when you rearrange the exercises again and put them back in the original order. So mix up your sequences. You can change a few exercises. Don't try to change all the exercises. I don't recommend doing that. Just change up your sequences, your patterns, and don't be afraid to change up your rep ranges too. If you're trying to hit a new weight and you know that you want to hit 10 reps, and you're like, you know what, I know I can do this, but I might only get 8 or 9 reps. That's fine. Try that for one set, do a drop set, bring it up to 12 to 15. Save it for your last set. That's another way to go past the plateau too. Throw in some drop sets. Many times when I'm trying to hit a new weight, on my last set, I'm going to try a new weight, maybe 5-10 pounds more than I ever do. I might not get the full 10 reps that I'm trying to get. I might only get 8 or 9. That's fine. I'll strip the weight right away and I'll go for another 4 or 5. So I'm still keeping my reps in double digits. And that's a really good way to surpass a plateau as well. All right. Question 3. Nick, I have quite a few upcoming events and dinner meetings this month. I'll be having to eat out at restaurants quite a bit for the next few weeks. Are there any particular foods that I should be sticking to when eating out? Typically, when I eat out in restaurants, I try to look for fish. So whether it's salmon, cod, halibut, sablefish, I personally like to lean more towards the white fish, but every so often I'll have some salmon too, or some trout. And when I'm ordering that fish, I'll usually ask them for like no sauce. And if they say that can't be done, I'll just say, okay, just a little bit of sauce. But usually it can be done. Usually you can modify it to however you want. But I find fish is a good lean protein source to go with, and you can't really go wrong when you're doing that because it's very light. As far as carbohydrates, if rice and quinoa are not an option, I would just ask for veg. So that's what I usually do too. If they're giving me like a cream pesto sauce or something like that, or they're giving me pasta, I'll say, just load me up with veg. And every restaurant has vegetables. So just ask them to load up your plate, veg and fish. And yeah, that's what I do when I go out. And another thing I'll look for is like tuna poke bowls too, if I'm going to like a chain restaurant too. That's very easy to get to. So if you find yourself stuck at like a Cactus Club or Earl's, super easy to order that. It's pretty healthy. Again, you can ask for, take out the mangoes, take out a few the sauces and stuff like that too. And it's pretty clean. So there's ways around it. I would really try to stick to your lean fishes though, if you can. Lean white fish. And like I said, watch the sauce. Always ask for no oil. Even if it says, oh, there's no oil in it, just get in the habit of saying no oil, please. And that's a really good bet because it'll really help keep your calories on the lower side. Okay. Next question. Nick, I read your blog this week. Do you really think that someone in their 50s can realistically achieve the same results with their physique as someone who is in their 20s? No, I do not. And I never said that. What I did say, though, is that I think a lot of people, as they get older, they tend to use age as an excuse as to why they're unable to achieve something. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a client who just turned 50 a few months ago. And he always tells me, he's like, oh, you wait till you're 50. This is going to be so challenging for you. Your skin starts to go. This starts to go. And I'm like, you look fantastic. Like, he looks amazing. He looks better than some of my guys in their 20s because he really puts a lot of work into it. Is it more challenging at his age? Probably. Yeah, it's probably more challenging to get up out of bed at 5 in the morning and go to the gym than it was when he was in his 20s. Of course, yeah, you get a little bit more tired, wear and tear on the body. But to use it as an example as to why you can't do something, I think what's happening when you do that, you're setting limitations on yourself. So if you go into a workout saying, well, I'm in my 50s, so I can't squat what I used to squat, or I can't bench as much as I used to bench. You're already setting your limitations very, very low. You're setting the bar extremely low. So, I mean, psychologically, you're going into that workout and you're not going to be giving it your all, right? So you're talking yourself out of the workout. You're talking yourself out of the intensity that you should be putting in. I can tell you right now, at my age, I feel better now in my late 30s than I did in my early 20s when I'm training. I feel like more focused. I have way more energy. I just know how to pace myself in the gym and throughout my workouts. I train a lot smarter than harder now. And yeah, because I'm older though, I do notice it takes me a little bit longer to warm up. That's okay though. I just add a few extra sets. I go a little bit lighter on my warm-up sets and then I'm fine. But getting older, it's just more mileage on your body. But that shouldn't stop you from saying, well, there's no point on even going to the gym, or yeah, I should just accept that I'm going to have this belly, or I should just accept that I'm going to get weaker and I'm going to get more frail. And once those thoughts enter your mind, in my opinion, that's when things start to go south very quickly. So I work with a lot of people in their 50s. I work with a lot of people in their 60s. And I mean, they've got fantastic physique. So I think when you're going into any workout or anything for that matter with the mindset is, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this because of my age, you're setting yourself up for failure. So I think it's important to switch that mindset and say, yeah, I'm in my 50s, but look, I'm training harder, I'm training faster, I'm training more intensely than these guys who are half my age or women who are half my age. So I think it's how you look at it, right? Um, but that was my whole point with that blog. Was I was trying to get across a point saying that if you're using age as an excuse as to why you cannot achieve something, that to me is it's just such a lame excuse, and it's just a crutch. It's just something to fall back on. Oh, I can't do this. It's like someone who has a physical limitation and says, I can't do anything because I have a physical limitation. You know, when you have epilepsy or I have MS and I just can't do anything. There's people like that too, right? And then there's people who have MS and people who have epilepsy and say, no, I can do this. I want to try doing this. So it's how you look at it. And again, if you start looking at yourself as an old person, that's what you're going to become. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. Do you think it's possible to still put on muscle if I'm intermittent fasting? Yes, but it's going to be challenging. Okay, you have to remember now, if we're talking about true intermittent fasting, where you're pretty much fasting for 20 hours out of the day, that's a very small window to get those calories in, the protein in, the carbohydrates, and the fats necessary to build and replenish glycogen and build muscle storage. So it can be done. I mean, there's people who do Ramadan and they have to do that. They have to fast for a long period of time and they can only eat for a short period of time. So, and they put on muscle. So yes, it can be done. It's not ideal though. I have always found that the best way to add on muscle is to fuel the body every 3 to 4 hours. So you're constantly feeding the body with protein so it never risks going into a catabolic state, especially if you're someone like me who has a very fast metabolism. I mean, if I go 4 or 5 hours without eating, I actually feel like my body's eating muscle. Now it's not doing that, but I feel like it is. So I can imagine if I left that for 12 to 16 hours, what would happen? So it's not ideal, but yes, you can put on muscle. I mean, there are people who do put on muscle when they're intermittent fasting. What I would do though is I would time your workouts around when you can eat. So for example, I mean, everyone intermittent fasts differently, right? Some people will eat in the morning, some people tend to eat more towards the evening, but I would surround your workout around the window of time where you eat. So for example, if your time of eating for intermittent fasting is from 4 p.m. to let's say 8 p.m., what I would do is I'd have a pre-workout meal at 4 p.m., go to the gym 4:35, train, have my post-workout meal, go home, shower, and then have another meal. So I'm trying to, and then have those 3 large meals in that 4-hour period of time, making sure I'm getting lots of protein, my complex carbohydrates, and my healthy fats. But yeah, it can be done. But again, you have to be a little bit more strategic, right? I'm not a huge fan of intermittent fasting when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. I know it does work for losing weight. Again, though, I don't think it's a realistic diet for most people and it's not sustainable. So it's just like the keto diet. Once you come off it, you put the weight back on. I do think, though, from a health perspective, intermittent fasting can be very beneficial. And I've talked about that before. I've written a few blogs about that. So from the health component, I can see why someone would want to do intermittent fasting. But again, if you're trying to build muscle and lose fat, I really don't think it's an ideal diet plan to follow. Okay. Next question. Nick, if you could only train with weights once a week for 1 hour, what would your workout look like? I would probably do a full body split, and I would do some circuit training as well. So I'm using my time as efficiently as I possibly can. So, for example, my first circuit might be something like an incline barbell press with a seated cable row and a barbell back squat. So then I'm doing agonist versus antagonist, and I'm throwing in the lower body as well. So chest versus back and throwing a lower body. And I would go 3 or 4 rounds of that in a row and move on to my next circuit. Second circuit might look like something, let's say a flat dumbbell chest press and a lat pull down and then some walking dumbbell lunges, right? And that way, again, I'm working agonist versus antagonist and I'm working my lower body. Third circuit could be something like, say, a seated dumbbell shoulder press with maybe a closed grip lat pull down and then maybe some dumbbell lateral raises and then maybe a wide grip bent over barbell row. Right. And that way I'm getting at least 4 exercises for my back, because as I mentioned before, the back is the largest muscle group in the human body. It's not the legs. So right there in my 3 circuits that I've done so far, I've had 4 exercises for my back. I've had 2 for my shoulders. I've had 2 for my chest, and I've had 2 for my legs. And if I were to throw in one more circuit, because I think I could probably get in at least 12 different exercises, maybe 36 to 48 sets in 1 hour, I would throw in my arms at the end because the arms are the smallest muscle group. So I would do, I would do maybe some easy bar curls, and I would throw in some rope extensions, and I would do some dumbbell curls against the wall maybe. And then I would throw in maybe a straight bar press down, cable press down, or some skull crushers. And that way I'm getting at least 2 exercises for my biceps and 2 for my triceps. Don't forget too, when you're working your back and your chest and your shoulders, you're working your biceps and triceps indirectly. So they don't need to be hit with as much volume. But yeah, that would be a workout I would just give myself. That's off the top of my head. But that way I'm covering all my bases. I'm working everything. And then I would throw in some abs at the end, maybe some hanging leg raises or lying leg lifts, some towel crunches on the Swiss ball if I have a training partner, bicycles, reverse crunches. And I would just do like a little ab circuit like that. So it can be done. Again, it's not ideal, just like intermittent fasting. I wouldn't recommend working out just once a week with weights. If you can, I'd work out at least 3 times a week with weights. Because honestly, in my experience working with the general population, people who work out just once a week with weights, yeah, they might progress a little bit with their body, but where I see people really progressing with their physiques and with their health, they're in the gym at least 3 to 4 times a week. But again, that's just what I've seen. You know, I'm sure there's some people out there. There's always those freaks out there and work out once or twice a week, and they put on muscle and they lose body fat. So all of them. But for the average person, I would say you have to be in the gym about 3 to 4 times a week with weights, lifting consistently, lifting intensely, and then you will see results. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. Oh, sorry. Hi, Nick. Do you train both men and women the same? Or are there certain exercises that work better for women and vice versa? I don't train anyone the same unless they're in a group class. But if I'm working with someone privately, I train them based on A, what their goals are, B, what their fitness level is, right? And C, what their physical limitations or injuries or previous health history looks like, right? So it's not a one size fits all program. As far as exercise selection based on gender, not really, no. I mean, I might give more glute specific exercises to my female clients, and I might give more chest specific exercises to my male clients, but for the most part, the exercises remain the same. It really comes down to the individual I'm working with. So if someone says to me, you know, I really need to bring up this area, I feel like it's lagging, I'll give more attention to that area. I will still explain the importance of balancing out the entire physique, but for sure, I'll give more priority to that specific area if that's a concern of theirs. I have a lot of women I work with who the lower body is a major concern, so we train lower body twice a week. Most of my guys only train legs with me once a week. But I have a lot of female clients that train with me legs twice, sometimes 3 times a week. We'll have like a quad and hamstring day, and then we'll have a glute and calf day. So, and then we'll have a full body workout to throw on top of that. So it really depends on the individual. But I do think that men and women can do the same exercises. I see no reason why not. Over the 20 years that I've trained, about 3 of my training partners have all been female, and we've done the exact same exercises. I've done hip thrusts, I've done glute kickbacks. I mean, I don't want to have a saggy bum either, right? So I've always said to my guys, I'm like, if you want great legs, train legs with a woman. Women train their legs way harder than men do. I've said this before. So that's why I think that's why I've developed my legs over time, is I've always trained them with a woman. So I always advise my guys, I'm like, hey guys, if you're not training with me, at least go to the gym with your girl, or if you have a friend that's a woman, and just train the legs with them, because you'll get the best leg workouts. So yeah, I mean, it really depends on the person. I don't really base it on gender. No, that's probably the last thing I base it on, if at all. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. I have a question about fats. They seem to be very high in calories. Like 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is 100 calories. I'm trying to lose weight and therefore are trying to keep my calories low. If I took fats out of my diet and just focused on low carbs and high protein, won't I lose weight faster? Not necessarily, no. I made this mistake when I was younger, actually, because I came up in an era where fats were known to be bad, and stay away from fats, and fats will make you fat. And, you know, there were so many misconceptions about fats when I was coming up in my early 20s that I was just so scared of them. I never had them. And what I found was that a few things, but one of the things I found is that my blood sugar levels were always going up and down, up and down. And what happened was I was constantly craving sugar. And so what I would do is I'd feed my body carbohydrates thinking that would help. But the more carbs I had, the more carbs I craved. So that didn't really work well for me. In fact, I actually put on weight, and it wasn't good weight. Like I had even a little bit of a belly at that one point. And then, so that's when I really started to look at fats differently. And I think it was in 2000, and I can't remember if it was 2009 or 2010, but I did a keto diet for a bodybuilding show. And I didn't look that great for the show. I mean, I won my class. I didn't win in the overalls, though I looked okay, but I noticed I lost a lot of muscle while following that diet. That's why I don't really recommend keto diets. But one thing I did learn on that diet was how beneficial fats were. Because when I was on that diet, I felt amazing. I didn't even feel like I was dieting at all. And I was doing a proper keto diet. I wasn't doing like the Atkins bacon and butter and all that crap. I was eating good, healthy fats, avocados, eggs, natural peanut butter, salmon. So a lot of healthy fats. I wasn't having any trans fats or bad fats or any of that stuff. And I felt amazing. And yeah, the calories were high, but one thing I noticed was that I felt fuller for a longer period of time. Another thing I noticed is that my blood sugar level stabilized. So I never crashed. I was never craving sugar. I was never craving food at all. I was always fine. In fact, when it was time to eat again, I was still full. So it was probably the only bodybuilding show that I ever competed in, a prep, I should say, that I ever prepped for myself for that show where I was never hungry. I just didn't like the results I had with my physique. As I mentioned, I won my class. I think there was like 8 or 9 guys in my class, but I got destroyed in the overalls because I just didn't have the muscle mass. I went from 210 pounds to like 172 pounds. So yeah, I lost a lot of fat, but I lost a lot of muscle. And then when I came off that diet, and I've talked about this before too, when I came off the keto diet, man, did I put on weight quickly. And it wasn't good weight, guys. It was bad weight. So I've yet to see anyone who's gone on a ketosis diet who's been able to keep the weight off once they come off that diet, ever. I've never seen it. I've seen people lose weight on keto. I've seen people lose lots of weight on keto. But as soon as they come off that diet, all the weight comes back on because your body becomes so sensitive to fats. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But to go back to answer your question is that you shouldn't look at everything from a numbers perspective. So yes, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is 100 calories. 1 tablespoon of olive oil is 120 calories. But what that food's going to do is going to keep you feeling fuller for a longer period of time. So you're not going to eat as much, for example, carbohydrates. You're not going to be craving sugar. That's very important because if you have very low or no fats in your diet, it's very easy to go from saying half a cup of rice to maybe having 1 cup of rice, or maybe I want to have a cup and a half of rice. And that's going to create more damage. So we don't want that. You know, we want to find a good balance. And it really depends on your genetics too. But what I find works for the majority of people I work with on their nutritional plans, I like to go with a very high protein, moderate carbohydrate, and actually slightly higher than moderate fat and in their diet. And I obviously play around with those macronutrients based on the individual, their genetics, their activity level, what their goal is. But for the most part, that's where I start. So I always leave all 3 macronutrients in, and then I shift them around to find out what works for that person. But what I find works for most people is if you keep the fats actually slightly higher than the carbohydrates, that works really well. So don't be afraid of fats. I promise you, they're not going to make you fat. Again, as long as you're having good, healthy fats. And again, portion control, guys. So yeah, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is 100 calories. So don't have 3 tablespoons of it. But 1 tablespoon, I mean, I'm 210 pounds now. 1 tablespoon is fine for me. That's more than enough for me. So if you're someone who's say 120, 130 pounds, 1 teaspoon should be enough for you, right? And that should keep you feeling full for a long period of time. Put that on your rice with some chicken, put it in your smoothie, however you want it. And you'll notice a huge difference. Throw in 2 omega-3 eggs into your salad. You notice that you feel fuller for a longer period of time. So don't be afraid of fats. I promise you, fats are not going to make you fat. All right. Okay. All right. Last question. Nick, do you ever feel burnt out from working out? Lately, I have no desire to go to the gym, and when I do, I just want to leave. I don't know if it's the weather, my diet, or I just don't have the motivation to lift weights anymore. Sounds like you're overtrained, and that's very common, right? Especially for people who really like going to the gym. I've been overtrained probably a few times. I would say 3 or 4 times in my lifespan as a bodybuilder and avid fitness enthusiast. And during that time, what I did was I just took the time off. You know, there was times I went to the gym and I walked right out. Um, it's really important that you have to listen to your body. So if your body's just saying, look, I'm not feeling it today, don't do it. Okay. There's been times I've gone to do legs and I get into the squat rack, and after my first set, I'm like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. So I leave, or I change up the muscle group that day and I go back and do legs another day. So it's really important to listen to your body. And if you are feeling overtrained, take some time off. There's nothing wrong with taking a few days off from the gym. If anything, you'll come back feeling refreshed. You'll feel more focused. You'll feel re-energized, and you'll get motivated to go back to the gym again. Another thing you could do is you could change up the gym that you're training at. I've done that before too. There was a period of time where I was training at a commercial gym, and I just got so unmotivated when I'd walk in there because every time I walk in, everyone was on their phones. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to train at my private gym, basement suite, blast the music as loud as I want to, and I can just have tunnel vision. And that worked really well for me. And I'm not blaming the people in the gym. It was just a very unmotivating environment for me. And so I just felt like I needed to switch up the environment, and that was perfect for me. Sometimes too, it's maybe change up your trainer, right? If you're working with a personal trainer, nothing against your trainer, even my clients who are working with me, if you're getting, you're stagnant with your results, or you're just like, oh, I just don't want to do this routine right now, change your trainer for a bit, change your coach. If you're happy with your coach, that's great. But say, you know what, I just want to take a little break. I want to try something new. I'm all for that. I've told my clients, I'm like, I've had a few clients try Orange Theory, or they'll go try some CrossFit, or they'll go try some, they'll do some combat fighting, they'll do some boxing, some jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, yeah, go do it. And then they come back and they're refreshed again. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to change things up every once in a while. So you can change up your workouts too. It doesn't always have to be bodybuilding or weightlifting, right? You're not going to lose muscle if you take 2 or 3 weeks off from the gym. I promise you. Where you are going to lose muscle is when those 2 to 3 weeks turn into 2 to 3 months. So if you're someone who's kind of sitting on your ass in the summer, enjoying your beer on the beach, and you're not going to the gym, you're going to regret it come fall. Absolutely, you're going to regret it. But if you're staying active and you're staying fit, you might lose some muscle, but at least you'll still be fit. So if you're doing your cardio, you're outside playing tennis, you're running, you're boxing, you're skipping, you're doing whatever, you're doing some CrossFit, yeah, you might lose a little bit of muscle, but you'll stay lean still, right? And then you'll come back to the gym, and it'll take some time to put the muscle back, but you won't be starting from square one again. So I think it's important to listen to your body. And if you're suffering from overtraining symptoms, it's definitely a good time to just take some time off from the gym and just do nothing. Maybe take 2 or 3 days off from no physical activity whatsoever. Go for a few walks, but just don't even take your gym bag out with you. And I find that works really well for a lot of people. And I've had a lot of people, mostly competitors who I work with, and they're just like, oh, I don't think I can keep dieting anymore, or I can't keep training. And we're talking when they're getting into the nitty gritty on very low carbs and, an hour and a half of cardio a day. And at that point, I'll just say to them, you know what? I want you just to take today off the gym, and I want you to go have a burger and fries. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I can't do that. I'm 3 weeks out from a show or from a photo shoot or my wedding, for example. I just worked with a girl who was getting ready for her wedding. And I told her to do that 3 weeks out. She's like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, do it. I want you to do it. And she did it. And you know what? The next day she felt amazing. She's like, I feel so good. I feel refreshed. I'm like, yeah, your body just needed that. So you got to listen to your body. Okay. If your body is telling you to sleep, sleep. If your body is telling you, look, I need a day off, take it. Even if your body says, look, I need to have a cheat meal, have it, right? Listen to your body. And that's the best way to beat overtraining, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Q&A. This episode should be going up this weekend. Just as a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.